Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us here today at Bitcoin Exchange. This is Jay, and I wanted to take a moment to put up a video here on a company called Factom. This is their website, factom.com, and you can go there at your leisure and read all about this particular company. But to give you the gist of who they are and what their goal is, this is their homepage, and they tell you here we're about honesty, trust, and immutability. We create products that transform the way organizations secure and share data. That's actually the whole ball of wax for what they do right there, but their vision is kind of on two different layers. I'll get to that in a moment. But what they want to do is safeguard critical government, commercial, and nonprofit data into the blockchain world. What they're doing is they're taking the 20th century brick and mortar companies and all their data that's secured either in filing cabinets or on hard drives, and they're going to be bringing that into and introducing it into the world of cryptography, the world of encrypted data. And this is something that every company is going to need that is lagging behind the curve, if you would. And most companies that are out there in the 21st century today are lacking behind the curve of what's going on in the crypto world. And it's partly because they don't understand and partly because it's such a new technology. What do you mean? Well, Bitcoin, back in 2008 with the banking fiasco of the United States, which was felt all across the world, Satoshi Nakamoto in January of the next year, 2009, created Bitcoin and put it on a blockchain, open ledger. And when he did that, when they did that, whoever Satoshi Nakamoto is, when the world received that gift, we were first focusing on Bitcoin. But now that Bitcoin has made its mark and is going to be the champion coin from which all others will be judged, they're looking now past the coin onto what the coin is working with. And that is the beauty of the blockchain. The blockchain network, the open ledger network, because it can be used for more things than just an open ledger. And so what's happening is companies are wanting to be able to transfer data and secure quick speeds on a secured network like blockchain, much the same way that Bitcoin is handling transactions across the world without going through banking institutions and such like that. And so Factom is actually, they have a way of securing the data through a DLock, which is technology by a company called SmartTrack. And it's a way of authenticating the documents and getting them secured into the blockchain. What I find interesting about this particular company is that there is going to be an increasing need for this exact service as the world learns about cryptocurrencies and then understands a blockchain ledger. They're going to want to become a part of the 21st century world. Now let me back up and explain what I mean by that. If you go back to the turning of the 19th into the 20th century, for 5 centuries, 6 or 10, 12 centuries before the invention of the steam engine, man basically walked around his community. If he had to go long distance, he either rode a horse, he rode a camel. Some places they'd run and catch an ostrich running by, but typically you were moved about by a 4-footed beast. And then when you're coming into the 20th century, you have leading into the 20th century, you have the steam engine and the railroads, and then you have Henry Ford and the automobiles, and then you have motorcycles, and then you have the Wright brothers coming out with airplanes, and then the world just took off, and now we're traveling across the world. We're no longer riding horses or camels or ostriches. We are driving cars, riding in planes, flying in planes. We are on trains. We are on buses. We are on boats. They have this whole other way of moving people across the globe. And so it's much the same way coming out of the 20th century into the 21st century, except this time it's governments, banks, individuals, businesses that are needing to get into a centralized, organized, secure culture. And that's exactly where all of this entire blockchain revolution is leading. And Factom finds their place in helping companies and governments commercial and non-commercial, nonprofit companies get their data secured onto a blockchain. Now, this is interesting, and they tell you how they're going to do it. But what I find equally as interesting is if you go over here to our story, they tell you what they're all about. They tell you, in fact, we're working with honesty, and honesty is good for business. They want to get away from fraud and corruption and forgery and make it a thing of the past. That's excellent. That fits right into the heartbeat of what crypto is all about. And then they tell you here, we started Factom to build a more honest and transparent world. We take a pretty simple approach. Create software that makes it impossible to change the past. Change the past, and point that software at places where it solves valuable business problems. That's their very foundation of what they're doing. However, if you get down here, they tell you that blockchains are clunky databases. That's true. So why would you want to use one? Well, traditional systems have inherent flaws that make them easy targets for corruption. A Factom system gives a single version of the truth through a decentralized network of authority. Once everyone can agree on a single version of the truth, then the truly game-changing applications can be built. Now, let me say this. When you read that, they're not talking about truths as in world truths, like, it's true that the world is round. It's true that the sky is blue. It's true that governments can get corrupted. They're not talking about moral truths here. They're talking about truth when it comes to document disclosure and moving of information. In that particular way, that truth becomes relevant, and then once you have that single version of truth in place, then you can go on to build what I believe is going to be a culture. In fact, they mentioned that, where is it at? Here, Factom culture. They mentioned that, not that that's what they're talking about, but the word culture there is exactly what they're describing, because when you look at cultures today, there's multiple cultures across the globe, multiple currencies for every culture in every country, multiple languages that are out there, and then you have the Bitcoin coming in and trying to ride above the Forex, if you would, the different currencies that are out there, and make it to where someone in Ohio can transfer money over to Korea or over to Bangladesh and not have to go through 5 different banking facilities and being slowed down, and the cost prohibits all of that. Blockchain and Bitcoin has opened a door for that. Now, here's what I believe. I believe that that monetary system is going to provide a world system of monetary transfer, and that's exactly what's going on with these cryptocurrencies, that will ride above the national fiat currency, but do away with a lot of the cumbersome of going through exchanges and paying fees and all of that, and taking days to get money transferred. In the same way, you have several cultures with several different languages. And up until now, the only central language was mathematics, and music. So you have mathematics and you have music as a way of expression. But now with the binary code of the computer, we have a world language that rides above the diversification of the spoken tongue, and it gives you a way to communicate with every nation on earth through a language. Now, what's interesting is, and Alexander the Great proved this, that if you want to change the culture, you're going to have to change the language. In other words, up to his day, before Alexander the Great, every warlord that won the battle would incarcerate or subjugate the loser of the battle. Whoever the victors were, they pretty much enslaved the people that lost the war. Alexander changed that, in that instead of bringing them in as slaves, he began to teach them the Greek language, believing, and rightly so, that if you can learn our language, we will slowly learn our culture. We're going to change your culture by changing your language. And that is a very secure fact of life. When the language starts changing, the culture starts changing. Well, why is that important? Because we are now changing the language into a language that is universal. A dialect on a computer encryption that is universal. And when you do that, you create a culture. And inside that culture, you're going to have data that's going to be moving back and forth very rapidly. You're going to have governments that are going to be all tied together, moving data very rapidly. and you're going to have a financial system, i.e. Bitcoin and others that are coming into play to bring about the financial transactions of that culture. And you're going to have in that culture people that want to join. And then coming into that culture, here's Factom's niche. This is where they find their niche and saying, okay, we're going to help you get out of the 20th century into the 21st century by taking your data, breaking it down, securing it into a cryptographed ledger, a blockchain ledger where every piece of data is encrypted and secured, and then the single point of truth being set, we can now transfer language and build a culture off of that. Now that is what I see in this particular company called Factom. And let's go over here to CoinMarketCap. I'm going to refresh this because we want an update of what's going on here. This is Wednesday, September 13th, 8:51 Ohio time. And here we have Bitcoin at 39.11. Now this is only because of what's going on in China. And you can see every one of these have been tanking over the last 48 hours or 72 hours. You can expect that to turn around here in just a little bit because I'm predicting that Bitcoin is going to punch through 5,000 by mid-October. Well, we'll see, but I believe about mid-October. So you're going, if not sooner, you'll hit that, bust that through 5 grand. All these are going to go up. Every one of them going to go up. And what's important is you get down here to number 34, right here, Factom. It's $20.83. We're going to click on that. Here's a little history of Factom. They started over here as a conversation in January 2014, but they actually launched and they get out here. Now they have a little deal, but get this stupid thing on the left side of it. There we go. Now you can kind of see how they've been going horizontally, as all cryptocurrencies do. And if you watched our videos, I pick this up every time. I show you this is normal and what's going on with a unit that is back building. This is what IOTA is doing. They're back building, and this is exactly what Factom is doing. They're getting everything in place, and they're not worried about the cost of their coin. They're not worried about that. They're very secure in what they're doing. This is not a pump and dump, guys. This is a company with a vision and a forecasted future that millions of companies across the world, I say millions and millions, thousands and thousands of companies across the world are going to be involved in. In fact, will be there for them when they get there. So then, of course, about April of this year, when Bitcoin and Ethereum started really going parabolic, you're seeing the same thing in every cryptocurrency, every good cryptocurrency, and this currency is doing nothing different. Now, if you watch this, they bust through the $30 range, and then they come up here to 33. Then they drop down, and here's your head and shoulders, and they come back down here. Then they start up again. Now this was a test right here. This is a test of the $30 range. You go back over here. Here's a test over here to the left. Here's a test of the $2.75, $2.50 range. They broke it. It drops back down. Then they test it again here, 382. Then they come back down again. Now they're testing it again. Now they go up here and they break here at $15, and then they shoot up to 30. There's 31.50. There's 33.72. Then they break back down. Again, there's your shoulder, and then drops back down. Starts coming back up. They test it again. Here they are. They jump up to 32.56 again. Now they broke through. Then China starts doing what they're doing and saying, we're going to not allow ICOs and all of this. And now, once the world realizes what China's doing, and when China realizes what China's doing, all this is going to reverse itself. So this is a good time to buy because right now they're down here at $20.83. And I'm going to say that as soon as we see this turn here in the next 2-3 weeks, you're going to see this particular coin start heading its way up past 30. And once it's broke through twice like this, it could very easily hit 40 bucks, folks. I mean, look, it busted here, it busted here. Now, I know some time between the two. And then it comes up here. Now it's busted here and it busted here. That time is shorter. So I'm saying between now and possibly March, you're going to see this coin jump up into the $40, $50 range very quickly. Hold on to that. It might drop down a little bit. It's going to fluctuate as all cryptos do, but I can see this busting back up through the 30s, up into the 40s, and by June of next year could very easily be holding a very strong $45, $50 coin. and you're getting it here. So you could actually double, 150% of your money on this coin. But this is a coin that if you get it at the $20 and hold on to it, this would, to me, is not going to be quickly buy, wait for it to jump, and then sell it off in 8 months, 6, 8 months. This to me is like IOTA. This is a coin that has its purpose, but its purpose has not yet been fully realized. And when the world sees this, you're going to see Factom jump. And I don't know how high Factom can go. It might hit $100. It might hit $200. In the course of a decade, it could hit $400 or $500 over the course of a decade as these companies start coming on. Now, I feel like you're going to see the zenith of this company somewhere between now and 2020. But it would be a great coin to have in the long run, because if you can get it at 20 and sell it for 200, that's a pretty good return on your money in less than 2 years, maybe less than 3 years. So there's the purpose of the coin. I think it's a strong coin. I think it has its niche in the crypto world, and I think you're going to see this coin move up the ladder. It wouldn't shock me. It's at 34 now. It wouldn't shock me to see it in the top 20 in the next 6 months to a year, and then possibly even move way up into the top 15. I don't think it will ever hit the top 10 because your top 10 are usually going to be your framework of everything, whereas the top 20, that's now you're starting to find purpose and other things that are going to be unique. And then anything below 20 I normally don't deal with, but this is I know this is 34. This is the space 34, but I still see it as they're not finished yet. They're going to move up into the top 20 and possibly into the top 15 here in the next 24 to 36 months. So that's my review on this. I think it's a great coin. I think it's a great company. They definitely have their niche. And if you get involved with it, I hope you do really well with it. Thanks for watching. Do me a favor, hit that subscribe button at the bottom, and I will see you in the future.